Legislative Council, which determines whether or not the budget that Finance Board prepares is adequate. And so I absolutely think that the student fee dollars are going to create resources that all students can use. I would say out of anything that I pay to CU, student fee dollars are the most deliberately decided upon component of that. Okay, thank you. But I think a big drop-off, I guess, or disconnect between the students and the leaders that serve on CUSG is letting the students know exactly how each dollar of student fees is arrived at. I think we do an amazingly democratic process of working through those budgets and making sure we make all cuts that keeping programs that are only pertinent to students and things that are useless are cut out. But I think something that CUSG could work to do better is letting students know either through social media, email blasts, things like that, to exactly how that number was arrived at and why it's reasonable. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Jeremy again. Okay, so what we want to talk about, yes, we think the amount the university charges for student fees is the correct amount, and there's a ton you get at as an undergrad, and I think that's perfect. The one thing we want to point out is that most students don't know about all the resources they have on campus. And so we want to do things like tabling with office hours and fixing up the calendar online to display all when the student groups meet. And just let the students know what the resources they have.
This year was the first year that student government worked with the Chancellor's protocol that was passed. And so while it was a very new process, there was definitely some room for improvement. Just to really look at that for efficiencies between balances of power, Finance Board, Legislative Council, joint board centers, and the administration.
This is a great question to start off with because we are the most powerful student government monetarily, and we get our power from the student fees. So the thing that we want to make clear as Unite is that we want to continue to use the student fees as effectively as possible. So we're not interested in lowering them, and we're not interested in increasing them either, but we want to make sure that we really use them as effectively as possible. And one of the cool successes that Unite had this past year was making sure that the funding, budgets, and allocations aligned with the same year cycle, so that student groups were able to use their fees more or their funds from the fees more effectively, which made it so that they could plan more sustainably. So that's one way that we've really increased the efficacy of the use of student fees, and we plan on continuing that in the future. The thing about student fees that's so important is that they're really what create the community on campus. And with our community, we know that we're going to be engaging more students, and that's going to increase their academic success. And that's why we think that the student fees are so important, and we'll continue to use them wisely.
Yeah, just adding on to what she said, student fees, it's hard to say if student fees are fair or not, but I know that with different resource centers and different cost centers that I work with closely, in particular like SOURCE, working with Women's Resource Center, Community Health, CMA, all those different resource centers. I feel like there's also a lack there because these resource centers are desperately in need of a lot more room, a lot more space, and as students come in, like there's a desire for more. And so it's hard to say if they're fair or not, but I feel like there's definitely more that we can do. But again, we stand with the form that we're not trying to increase, to lower, or anything as such, but we agree tonight.
Inclusion and involvement is a staple of what CU commits itself to being. For involvement, the first thing that students, when they come here, everyone tells them, you gotta get involved. You have to get involved, whether it's with student government, sports, spiritual activities, you have to get involved. So there are so many programs that are right now underutilized simply because people don't look out to it. They don't reach for those, or don't know where to go to reach for those activities, involvement spaces. So I believe that, and we believe together as Inspired, that there are a lot of opportunities for students to get involved on campus already, and we need to make sure that those programs are marketed correctly and more efficiently so that those programs are utilized. There really are great programs already out there. The next thing is office hours for representatives, CUSG members need to be more than just inside the CUSG office. They need to be outside, tabling within the UMC. They need to be not only visible in the office, but visible when you're walking through the largest student union in Colorado. We need to see people, really see them, not just in the office.
We want to make it really easy for students to get involved. So with that, Jeremy mentioned the calendar. And currently there is a calendar that displays some student group information and some information of programs that are going on campus. But we want to centralize that and make sure that every student group meeting is listed on that calendar, and that when a student is like, oh, I have a free Tuesday night, they can go figure out how to get involved on campus. So we'd really like to push that through.
And then lastly, people who are looking to get most involved are people who are probably the freshest to this campus. Transfer students and freshmen are a huge group for us to utilize and to really sort of take advantage of. We want them to be as involved on campus as possible. Inspire was one of the originators of the Freshman Council for the Engineering Center, and we'd like to carry that out to all the different colleges as well.
I really wanted to second the statement made by Inspire that the students that are really involved on campus are really the ones that make this campus what it is. That being said, there's still a lot of disconnect between CUSG and administration and the students on campus, even the ones who are involved, even the ones who aren't involved. And there's sometimes a lot of feeling among students that they really can't make a difference. So Unite really feels that CUSG needs to be there not only in the office, as Inspire said, not only just tabling, but also involved in student groups, involved in the community, being there for students and student groups on an individual level in the capacity as CUSG leaders, but also in the capacity as friends. And Unite has really worked on doing this over the past year. We've set up the Freshman Council, which has given a space, and when Unite is, we've been doing a lot of work with Freshman Council, which has really given a space for freshmen who are involved in CUSG to get involved in student government. We've worked closely with cost centers. I think it's really important to look at expanding the opportunities that students have to work directly with administration on implementing the policy and changes that they want to see on campus. And that's something that Unite would do if chosen for office.
Yeah, just speaking on that, historically we have reached out in a lot of different ways, and definitely interesting point you brought up that we have not historically helped out. But basically, like the ways we've helped out is through SOFO. Trying to work with SOFO, where all these student groups are listed. Their website is absolutely outdated, and we're trying to revise that right now, working with that, because as a lot of student groups know, a lot of the information on there is outdated and not used to its full potential.
So I agree with everything said. When coming to CU, I didn't really know where to look. And yeah, there is SOFO. As a member of several student groups on campus, I can tell you it's really, really difficult to work with. It's not an effective way for people to be able to join the student groups because contacts are outdated. And so going along with updating the website, we have a specific plan that we would like to create a directory within SOFO, not only including an accurate contact for each group, but we'd also like to have with that times and places of all their events and programs, just so a student doesn't necessarily have to go through that awkward time of having to send an email, but rather can just go right to the meeting. That just would be a really effective way to get the word out.
Thank you, Sloan. I think valuable topics have been raised, but I find no substance in them. I've been a student here about 3 years, and I haven't seen any outreach come from my student government. I came here, as a Latina, my freshman year, and I didn't necessarily find that CU was a place where inclusion and involvement was a staple. Rather, I found that people are sort of involved in their own crowds. and that leads to us forgetting about one another. What I'd like to do is create an atmosphere of involvement. Let's refurbish homecoming so that it's not just the Greeks that are sort of involved, but our ASA community, who's in New Haven, Connecticut right now, getting training. Our LGBTQT community as well. Let's refurbish our programs so that all communities on campus feel included. So thank you.
Great points. I think a huge aspect also, starting with the freshmen, making it known what is at your disposal immediately upon arriving on campus and when you're here for orientation. I know that I've had the opportunity to work on an app that would actually set out to kind of solve this issue by aggregating information based on students' interests to help them find groups that they would enjoy